Salmon Podcast มันสดอร่อย
In the Name of Work podcast, getting your work to really work with Parit Wacharasindhu.
In collaboration with RISE.
Hi everyone and welcome to episode 0 of In the Name of Work podcast. And this is your host, Parit Wacharasindhu. For those who don't know me, just a bit of self-introduction. I'm currently the CEO and founder of an edtech startup called StartD. We basically develop an application that allows students across the country in Thailand to be able to access high-quality learning content across kind of primary and secondary grades, be it kind of videos, quizzes, or infographics. Before kind of getting into this startup, I had about 2 years working as a consultant at McKinsey & Company before leaving to enter politics and run unsuccessfully as a member of candidate for parliament in Thailand before stepping out to undertake and start my own startup. So that's kind of a bit of background for me. Now, when we talk about work, I think it's undeniable that work is an important part of everyone's life. If you do a quick calculation, and I actually tried this, right? So if you calculate the number of hours you spend working and you assume that you work kind of 8 hours per day from when you're 20 years old to when you're 60, it actually means that your work comprises about 10 to 20% of your total life. Now, that is a relatively significant number given that you obviously spend a lot of the time kind of sleeping, right? But I think different people view work very differently, right? To some, work is something that is a bit of a burden. It's kind of 8 hours per day you have to get through just so that you can make enough kind of income to support your expenses. But to others, on the other extreme end, work can be something that gives your life meaning, right? Some people almost say that if they don't work, they're not quite sure what their true meaning is, or they can't quite find kind of their purpose to life. So I think a lot of people view work in kind of very different perspectives across these two extremes. Now, in theory, there is a saying that if you want to find the perfect work, or what they call ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, then your perfect work consists of 4 conditions. 1 is doing something that you love. 2 is doing something you're good at. 3 is doing something you can be paid for, so then it generates income. And then 4 is doing something that the world needs, right? They say that if you kind of think about your job that you're doing at the moment, and if your job or your current work satisfy these 4 conditions, then that's basically the perfect work. Now, anyone listening can try and think about their current work and see how many of these 4 conditions are met. But I think what is going to be more complicated going to the future is that the future of work itself is changing fast, especially what the world needs from kind of the labor force, or what type of jobs the world needs will look very different in 10 years' time compared to what it looks like now, right? I think the future of work is going to be different across 2 perspectives. Number 1 is the rising technology is going to come in and replace huge amount of existing work. There was actually a report by McKinsey which said that in about 10 years' time, technology has the potential to replace 45% of existing paid activities, right? That's almost like half the total number of jobs that are currently out there at the moment. And if you kind of look at categories of jobs, they say that 60% of jobs will see more than 30% of its activities being automated. So I think it's undeniable the first trend, which is that technology is going to come in and replace a lot of the work that we currently do. But I think the second equally important trend is that the type of work it's going to replace is going to be very different to what we've seen in the past. I think in the past, we've seen that technology has come in to replace kind of traditional jobs or routine jobs, right? Jobs in the factories, which we kind of from the outset, we can see that it can be quite easily automated. But if you look at kind of the advancing nature of technologies like artificial intelligence, you realize that actually at the moment, robots or technology can do a lot of the work that you would never have expected technology to be able to do in the past. We're seeing robots that can write kind of the next version of Harry Potter or the next chapter of Harry Potter. You're seeing robots in Estonia that can act as judges in the judicial system. And you're seeing robots even in China that have been kind of incorporated into the foreign policy decision-making process. So I think as you can see, right, not only is technology going to replace a huge amount of work, but it's also going to replace a very different type of jobs that we've seen in the past. Now, in this podcast that we call In the Name of Work, what we're going to be doing is looking ahead to see what the future of work looks like and what type of skills would we need in order to make sure that our work remains relevant and effective in light of this changing technology. And the skills we're talking about here are not skills that are specific to certain jobs or certain professions, but they're skills that I believe can be applied to any work that you're currently doing, whether it is skill sets regarding how to design your product or service to better fit your customer needs, how to get your organization to focus more on digital transformation, how to think visually and solve problems visually, how to engage in a good conversation with your colleagues or business partners, or how to make your employees happy, right? These are skill sets that apply to every type of job that you're currently doing. And I'm not going to be talking about these skill sets just on my own, but I'm going to be joined by business leaders across the globe who are going to be sharing their perspectives and expertise on these issues. And the way it's going to work is that I will first interview them in English for about an hour or so before summarizing the key points in Thai for our local audiences here in Thailand. So do stay tuned in. I'm sure you'll get to learn many great tips and tricks on how to make your work more efficient, more effective, and more fun. Or as we like to say on this podcast, how to get your work to really work.